The sea is full of many mysteries waiting to be uncovered, but sometimes one stumbles upon a mystery only to later wish that they hadn't. Imagine some of the biggest, most elusive deep sea creatures out there. Or perhaps a shipwreck found in the deep sea that holds many World War II secrets. Well, you don't have to imagine, because that is what we are here to talk about today, and more as we dive into the top 10 scary things found by submarines. What is up, Top 10 fam? I am your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and before I dive into this list, you guys, I just wanted to take a quick second to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Magellan TV. Magellan TV is a streaming service that is dedicated to documentaries and documentary series. Whatever your thing is, whether it's science, nature, history, true crime, or a good old docudrama, Magellan TV is sure to have it, and they add new titles every single week, so there's always going to be new stuff that you have to add to your must-watch list. One of my favorite things I've watched with my subscription to Magellan TV is The Family Who Vanished, which details the case of the Kohan family who went missing in 2003 under some really suspicious circumstances. When I tell you guys that it had me on the edge of my seat the entire time, I am not lying. It had everything that a true crime lover needs, with a ton of twists and turns. If you want to check out Magellan TV, which I know you do, today is your lucky day, because Magellan TV has decided to give most amazing top 10 viewers a free 1-month trial to check out their amazing service, and all you gotta do is hit that link in the description box and head over there to start watching. It is for a limited time only though, so don't wait around, hit that link and enjoy. Alright, let's get into today's list. Starting off at our number 10 spot, we have the deepest known shipwreck. Who knows how many shipwrecks lay in our oceans, considering many of them have yet to be found. The USS Johnston was a US Navy destroyer which sank during the Battle of Samar in 1944 after a battle with a large fleet of Japanese warships. Victor Vescovo, who is one of the few people who have made the dive into the Mariana Trench, was one of the people who first stumbled upon the remains of this sunken warship. The ship's remains were first found in 2019, and it is now known as the deepest known shipwreck, as it was found 6,456 meters deep in the Philippine Sea in the Pacific Ocean. Victor, who led the expedition, said, quote, "The wreck is so deep that there's very little oxygen down there, and while there is a little bit of contamination from marine life, it's remarkably well intact except for the damage it took from the furious fight." End quote. This ship is so deep it took a few dives in order for them to be able to relocate the ship, which they have now been able to do entirely. There were 327 crew members on board this ship during the battle, and sadly only 141 of them survived. The diving team was sure to be respectful about their mission and laid wreaths both before and after their dives, which is just a nice note to end off this point on. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Baltic Sea Anomaly. In 2011, while searching for treasure in the Baltic Sea, these divers came across something super weird. It was a 70-meter long object laying 300 feet below the sea, and to this day, no one knows for sure what it is. It's a massive disc-shaped metal object, and while it certainly is weird to find a huge underwater structure that no one can identify, the weirdest part about this story is that those who found it claim that their equipment stopped working only when they were around this massive unknown structure. There was some sort of electrical interference, but only when they got close or directly above it. Some people believe it's either a glacial deposit, which is the result of thawing glaciers, or an alien spacecraft. I'll let you guys decide on this one. UFO or glacial deposit? I'm gonna go with UFO because that is way more exciting. In our number 8 spot today, we have a USO. Daryl Miklos is an explorer who took a deep dive following maps that had been put together by his friend and former astronaut Gordon Cooper. The map Daryl was using was initially made to help identify more than 100 magnetic anomalies in the sea. During one dive at a location within the Bermuda Triangle, he thought he was going to find an ancient shipwreck, but instead found something that continues to stump researchers and Daryl himself. He came across a very strange structure that wasn't like anything he had ever seen before. This structure had long obtrusions which stuck out from its sides, and the whole thing was covered in corals, so whatever this thing is, it has been down there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Daryl has said, quote, "There's identical formations in 3 different areas, and they don't look nature-made. They don't look man-made. Certainly nothing I've ever seen based on my experience, and I have years of experience at doing this. We've identified multiple different types of shipwreck material. This doesn't match or look anything like that." End quote. People have started speculating that this structure may just be the remains of a crashed UFO. If it isn't, then what else could it be? I'm feeling open to suggestions, so let me know. In our number 7 spot today, we have a giant squid attack. While diving into the deep sea in a submarine, there's quite a few things that could go wrong. Some are certainly scarier than others, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that being attacked by a giant squid is somewhere on the list of bad ones. Maybe not life-threatening since you're in a submarine, but still absolutely terrifying. That is what happened to a pair of Greenpeace submariners while on an expedition in 2004 in the Bering Sea between Russia and Alaska. The squid sprays ink and is clearly quite stressed out, which I'll admit is actually kind of sad to see. It isn't quite clear exactly why the squid was in this area, as it is quite far north for its usual habitat, but it was there nonetheless. Researchers aren't exactly sure what kind of squid it was for sure, but all they know is that it was very, very large. I think it's safe to say that those people were glad that they were in a submarine that day. In our number 6 spot today, we have the massive Siphonophore. Okay, I'm not saying that this is going to be scary to everyone, but I'm not gonna lie. Knowing that things like this exist in the deep sea is absolutely terrifying to me. So there are these things called siphonophores that exist in the ocean, and they appear to be a singular multicellular organism, but they're actually an entire colony of polyps and medusoids that are collectively known as a zooid. So, a few years ago, scientists found the longest siphonophore they've ever found, and it was a whopping 154 feet long. Yep, just a huge long piece of a bunch of different little creatures all working together. I don't know why it freaks me out so much. Maybe it's because it's a bunch of creatures that all seem as though they share a brain. Maybe it's something I just can't comprehend. Or maybe it's because this thing is 154 feet long. Regardless of whatever it is, the deep sea is just as fascinating as it is terrifying. In our number 5 spot today, we have dying coral reefs. In 2009, after a 4-week expedition to explore the deep ocean just southwest of Tasmania, while there were many exciting discoveries, there was also one that was much more grim. The scientists found deep water coral reefs, but in the same moment as the excitement came the realization that these coral reefs are dying. There needed to be much more research into exactly what was causing the reef systems to die, but the worry was that whatever the cause was would extend into the shallower reefs as well, which would cause massive problems for both marine life as well as human life. Scientists needed to figure out whether the coral was dying because of ocean warming, disease, or increasing ocean acidity. Whatever the cause, if it were to extend into the shallower coral reefs and cause those to die off as well, 25% of marine life would lose their habitat, the coastal fishing industry would collapse, coastal tourism economies would shrink, coastlines would erode, we wouldn't have the same access to submarine animals which have helped us with medical breakthroughs, and honestly the list just continues on. So while this one might not currently seem like a scary addition to this list, it could have many more implications than we are even aware of. In our number 4 spot today, we have this deep sea feast. As it turns out, deep sea feasts are quite a horrific sight, as this video footage from a deep dive expedition will show you. This is the scene that scientists were welcomed to on a deep diving expedition that took place in 2019. What you are seeing is dozens of octopuses mercilessly devouring the 4 to 5 meter long remains of what is believed to have been a baleen whale. Their meal includes some of the internal organs, while large scavengers are stripping away the flesh, and those good old zombie worms are diving into their favorite meal, the lipids and fat from the bones. While this is a grisly sight, I guess it's nice to know that nothing goes to waste in the deep sea. In an environment where food is scarce, this must have been a pretty big win for all of these creatures. Still, seeing video footage of it is pretty wild. In our number 3 spot today, we have the long-arm squid. The long-arm squid is not often seen, and thank goodness for that, because they are so unbelievably freaky. They can be found in many different oceans, but they live in the permanently dark zone of the ocean around 1,219 meters or 4,000 feet deep in the sea. On November 11th, 2007, as an ROV was searching around the deep waters in the Gulf of Mexico, it was able to catch one of these guys on film. While there is still a ton that remains a mystery about these elusive creatures, it is believed that they can grow to be around 23 feet long or over 7 meters. The real creepy stance that these guys have is when they hold out their extremely long appendages perpendicular to their body, which creates a sort of elbow look. I don't know, just freaks me out. Imagine waking up and having a giant squid with elbows floating around your room. I know that won't happen, but I'm just saying, imagine. In our number 2 spot today, we have a squid graveyard. During a 2012 expedition into the Gulf of California on the seafloor, scientists came across a ton of squid carcasses and squid squid egg sheets, which was a bit of a scary sight, but they made a note of it, captured their footage, and just continued on. In 2015, when they returned to the same area, they found even more, and now they really had to ask themselves, why was this happening? Well, they then took a look at the squid's life, and things started to make a little bit more sense, although it is still unclear. So, many species of squid will see the adults all join in large groups to spawn and lay clusters of eggs on the seafloor. Shortly after this, many of the adults pass away. This isn't the case for all squid, however. There are some mothers who instead lay their eggs in an egg sheet, which they keep between their arms for months. When the babies finally hatch, the mother will then drift her way down to the sea floor. So this answers the questions why the squid died, but it doesn't answer the question of why there were so many bodies in one specific zone, and the answer to that still remains a mystery. This is, however, an important part of the underwater ecosystem, as these squid carcasses then become food for the other animals that live in the area, such as crabs, sea stars, ratfish, and other crustaceans and bottom-dwelling scavengers. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Guardians of the Underworld. I'm here asking you why there are so many insanely large creatures in the deep sea. I know, deep sea gigantism, but still, why? So here we are talking about another insanely large creature. This time it's a jellyfish, which has been nicknamed the Guardian of the Underworld. This creature can reach 10 meters or 33 feet in length, and despite its enormous size, it isn't usually caught on camera. Thanks to the MBARI's ROV, however, more video footage was able to be captured of this amazing and terrifying jelly. In the 27 years that the MBARI's ROV has been patrolling the deep sea, they've only observed this animal 7 times, so it really does feel kind of special that we get a chance to take a peek at this thing in its natural habitat. While those long billowy things coming off of it appear as though they would be stinging tentacles, they're actually more like arms that help with feeding. It is thought that they use these massive arms to envelop their unsuspecting prey, and that was all I needed to hear to swear off the ocean forever. The red coloring of these jellies helps them blend into the dark backdrop of the sea, making them a perfect predator. A member of the MBARI team said, quote, "It's one of the largest invertebrate predators known in the ocean, yet little is understood about its ecology and behavior," end quote. So, like many of the other deep sea creatures on today's list, there is still so much more to learn about these guys. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video today, and as always, subscribe. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I'll see you next time. Bye!